Your last trade is just your last trade. It's not a forecast. It's not a pattern. It's not a signal that everything has changed. But your brain doesn't process it that way. Your brain treats recent events as more important than they actually are. And in trading, that means your last trade, whether it won or lost, has an outsized influence on how you approach your next one. That's recency bias, and it's one of the quieter ways traders sabotage themselves without realizing it. After a win, you feel invincible. The market makes sense. Your edge is working, and that confidence can make you careless. You start taking marginal setups. You size up because you're on a streak. You ignore warning signs. The win creates emotional momentum that feels like you've figured something out. But you haven't. You just had a trade that worked. And one trade working doesn't mean the next one will. Your edge is statistical. It plays out over samples, not moments. But recency bias makes moments feel like trends. After a loss, you doubt everything. The plan that worked yesterday suddenly feels broken. You second-guess setups that match your criteria perfectly. You size down or skip trades. The loss creates different emotional momentum that makes you think the market has changed or your edge is gone. But nothing has changed. You just had a trade that didn't work. And one trade not working doesn't mean your plan is broken. It means variance exists, and variance is part of the process. This is what makes recency bias dangerous. It's not that you're making obviously bad decisions. It's that you're making decisions based on incomplete information. Your last trade is a single data point. But it feels like the most important data point because it's the most recent one. And recent feels relevant. But relevant and recent are not the same thing. Your plan is built on your entire sample of trades. Not your last 3. Not your last 10. The whole sample. And when you let one trade override that sample, you're no longer trading your edge. You're trading your emotional reaction to the last outcome. Emotional momentum works both ways. After a few wins, you feel like you can't lose. After a few losses, you feel like you can't win, and both feelings are lying to you. Because the market doesn't care about your recent results. It doesn't know you just won 3 in a row. It doesn't know you just lost 3 in a row. It's just presenting conditions. And those conditions either match your plan or they don't. Your recent trades don't change that. They just change how you feel about it. The shift is separating your emotional reaction from your strategic response. Yes, you feel confident after a win. That's normal. But confidence is not a signal to take more risk or relax your filters. It's just a feeling. Yes, you feel uncertain after a loss. That's normal too. But uncertainty is not a signal to tighten your filters or skip trades. It's just a feeling. Your plan doesn't change based on your feelings. It changes based on evidence that your edge is no longer valid. And one trade, or even 3 trades, is not evidence. It's noise. Here's the practice. After every trade, win or loss, ask yourself the same question. Does my next trade match my plan? Not, do I feel good about it? Not, am I on a streak? Not, did my last trade work? Just, does this trade match my plan? If it does, you take it. Same size, same rules, same process. If it doesn't, you don't. The outcome of your last trade is irrelevant to that question. And keeping it irrelevant is how you stay consistent. Recency bias also shows up in how you review your trading. You remember recent trades more clearly than older ones. So when evaluating your plan, recent results carry more weight. If your last few trades were losses, you'll think the plan isn't working. If they were wins, you'll think it's working great. But neither conclusion is accurate. You need to look at the whole sample. That's where the real data lives. Not in the last week, in the last 50 or 100 trades. The reason recency bias is so hard to interrupt is because it feels rational. Of course your recent trades matter. Of course they tell you something, and they do. But they don't tell you what you think they tell you. They tell you what happened in those specific trades. They don't tell you whether your edge is working or broken. They don't tell you whether you should change your plan. They definitely don't tell you whether the next trade will work. They're just data points in a larger sample. And treating them like more than that is how you lose perspective. Your last trade is just your last trade. Let it be that. Don't turn it into a story about the market changing or your plan failing or your edge disappearing. And don't turn it into a story about you being hot or finally figuring it out. It's just one trade in a long series of trades. And the long series is what matters, not the moment.